Hello, this is your special education virtual content specialist with the 6th grade math lesson for June 15th. This lesson, like all lessons, can be found on TeachHub, where we provide the title, the focus question, and the learning objectives, including the standards and objectives for each lesson. We also provide guidance for using this resource, including instructional and technology guidance, implementation guidance for each slide in the lesson, guidance for summarizing, guidance for assessment during instruction, and general methods of engaging with students with disabilities and multilingual learners. 6th graders are going to continue working on Unit 8, Data Sets and Distribution. Day 30, Quartiles and Interquartile Range 1. What is the relationship between the quartiles and the median? For the introduction, students are provided with 2 dot plots, including the mean marked with a triangle. Each shows the ages of partygoers at a party. Students are asked, what do you notice, and wonder about the distribution in the dot plots. To support students with disabilities, you can provide them with sentence starters such as I notice or I wonder, or you can provide them with a T-chart where they list their noticings on one side and their wonderings on the other side. Students may notice that the means of the 2 data sets are different. The mean for the second data set is 5 years higher than that for the first. They may notice that the ranges and values of the 2 data sets are about the same. They may notice that most points in the first data set are clustered around 8 and 10, only a few are much higher. The mean for the first data set is located where there are no observations. They may notice that the points in the second data set are not clustered anywhere. They are distributed along the dot plot between 5 and 42 years. The MAD values could be close for the 2 data sets. Students may wonder why the data distributions look so different. They may wonder if the MAD values are the same or close, or they may wonder if there could be other distributions that look very different than these 2 but also have the same MAD. For the Explore, students are provided the ages of a group of the 20 partygoers that they saw in the earlier slide, shown in order from least to greatest. To support students with disabilities, pair up students with their previously identified peer tutors. Additionally, to support executive functioning issues, you want to add quartile to the classroom vocabulary anchor chart. Question A asks, find and mark the median on the table and label it 50th percentile. The data is now partitioned into an upper half and a lower half. Alongside their peer tutors, students should note that the 50th percentile is located at 20. Question B. Find and mark the middle value of the lower half of the data, excluding the median. If there is an even number of values, find and write down the average of the middle 2. Label this value 25th percentile. Students will now mark the 25th percentile, which is the average of 10 and 11, so the 25th percentile is located at 10.5. Question C. Find and mark the middle value of the upper half of the data, excluding the median. If there's an even number of values, find and write down the average of the middle 2. Label the value 75th percentile. The 75th percentile is located between 28 and 30, and the average of those 2 is 29. Part D. You have now partitioned the data into 4 pieces. Each of the 3 values that cut the data is called a quartile. The first or lower quartile is the 25th percentile mark. Write Q1 next to 25th percentile. The second quartile is the median. Write Q2 next to that label. The third or upper quartile is the 75th percentile mark. Write Q3 next to that label. Label the least value in the set as minimum and the greatest value as maximum. On this slide, students are going to record the 5 values that they have just identified. They are the 5-number summary of that data. So the minimum was 7, the Q1 was 10.5, Q2 was 20, Q3 was 29, and the maximum was 42. Question 2 states, the median or Q2 value of this data set is 20. This tells us that half of the partygoers are 20 or younger, and the other half are 20 or older. What does each of the following values tell us about the ages of the partygoers? So Q3, which is 29, tells us that 3/4 of the partygoers are 29 years old or younger. The minimum value tells us the youngest partygoer. The maximum value tells us the oldest partygoer. To continue synthesizing the activity, you can also ask students, why are Q1 called 25th percentile, Q2 50th percentile, and Q3 75th percentile? A sample response would be each quartile tells us how many quarters of the ordered data values are accounted for up to that point. The first quartile tells us that 1/4 or 25% of data values are less than or equal to that value. The second quartile tells us that 2/4 or 50% of data values are less than or equal to that value, and so on. You can ask students, in what context does Q1, which is 10.5, tell us? A sample response is that 1/4 of partygoers are 10.5 years old or younger. A last question that you can use to synthesize this activity is, how do the 5 numbers help us to see the distribution of the data? A sample response would be, they divide the values in the data into sections containing 1/4 of the values each. This gives us an idea about the distribution of the data by looking at how varied each section is. For the summary, students are responding to the focus question, what is the relationship between the quartiles and the median? You can provide students with disabilities a sentence starter as shown here. If students are struggling with the lesson, guide them to this video link for practice problem support. Additionally, you can guide their family to utilizing these resources linked here to help them with the lesson. For additional practice, you can complete open up practice problems, IXL grade 6, HH.7, calculate quartiles and interquartile range, Khan Academy interquartile range IQR, or Engage New York, grade 6, module 6, lesson 13 problem set. This lesson was adapted utilizing illustrative mathematics and open up resources. Please visit these sites to support digital learning. If you have any questions, reach out to a virtual content specialist. Thank you.